City Assassin does it again.
Live from WICB Radio.
Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
This is
It's a goal, the Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago's Beat.
And Andre Iguodala hits 2 huge free throws at the end of the game to send the Chicago Bulls to the offseason and lift the Philadelphia 76ers into the second round, 79-78, taking the series 4 games to 2. This is WICB Radio. I am Mike Mercado, and you are on the Chicago Beat. And a lot to talk about Chicago as the Chicago Bulls lose in the first round of the NBA playoffs after being the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, after winning the division, consecutive years of best team in the Eastern Conference, lots of injuries, lots of excuses that we made, but in my personal opinion, I don't believe there's too many to be said. The Chicago Bulls were a better team than Philadelphia, with or without Derrick Rose. And even without Joakim Noah, I believe the Chicago Bulls were still a better team than the Philadelphia 76ers. Philadelphia cannot score on this Bulls defense. Whoever was on the court, they couldn't score. There were times in this series where Philadelphia wanted to give the game away to Chicago. And what Chicago did was give it right back. Very disappointing way to end the season. With all the hype that was leading up into this playoffs. With last season ended, losing to the Miami Heat. Every conversation from a Bulls fan was, we want the Miami Heat back in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what we want to fight. That's the heavyweight matchup. Let's get there. We went through the whole offseason, the whole regular season, just for it to end in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Very, very dramatic ending. A tough loss for the Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bulls fans. Many Bulls fans were already off the wagon. A lot of fans thought the season was over when Derrick Rose was officially out. And then the Bulls made a little bit of a run, won a couple games. Things were looking good. Couldn't finish. You saw that some of these players just don't have the mental capacity to handle a situation like that. We want to hear from you. Tweet the show at mmercado2333 or comment us on Facebook at MikeMercado/Facebook.com. And it is time for the world famous What I Noticed.
It must be true, 'cause I heard it on the radio. It must be true, it must be true.
Rip Hamilton coming to play, drops 19 points in 37 minutes, had to take 20 shots, but we needed every single one of those points from Rip Hamilton. Finally decides to show up in the series. Little too late, the Bulls could use him all series. He showed up for one game, we'll give him some credit, but we needed to see more from Rip Hamilton. In this occasion, Game 6, he did show up with 19 points, 37 minutes. How about Luol Deng? Luol Deng, what a warrior. For somebody who, 3 straight games, 8 points, coming out, and just the start that he had. And if it wasn't for that elbow in the second quarter, who knows how much he would have gone off for. He finished off with 19 points, went 8 for 16 in 42 minutes. Luol Deng had a very, very good game. And even though we were really hard on Luol Deng, at the end of the day, throughout the whole season, one of the most consistent players on this team. You know what you're getting from Luol Deng now, going into the offseason. You know the type of player he is. You understand that he's not the type of player who's going to carry you to an NBA championship. But he'll carry you in games. And he almost did that. If it wasn't for an elbow from Andre Iguodala, who knows what he would have gone off for. And then without even a shadow of a doubt, the 2 men who deserve the most credit for this game, even this game being as close as it was Omer Sheik and Taj Gibson. Hands down, Taj Gibson was the best player for the Bulls in this playoffs. Had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and a couple blocks. Energy. This guy is always hurt and just manages to bounce back and play even better. If it was up to me, if I'm Tom Thibodeau and Gar Forman and John Paxson, I don't care how much money I have to eat, Boozer is on my bench, Taj Gibson starting with Joakim. No question. Yeah, that's a lot of money in your bench. What else are you going to do? Taj Gibson has earned that right to start. On any other team in the league, he's a starter. And he would do this consistently. And the minute he develops a consistent jump shot, unlike Boozer, he won't be afraid to go into the basket as his primary attack and then use that jump shot when it's given to him. And speaking of Boozer, $80 million. $80 million. I will say that one more time. $80 million for 3 points, 1 of 11 shooting in a Game 6 do-or-die NBA playoffs. In Game 5, we saw the guy attack the rim and that opened up the shot for him. How many times did Carlos Boozer attack the rim? 1 for 11 shooting, 3 points. Did not see the court in the fourth quarter. If that is not an indication that Taj Gibson should be your starter, nothing is. Now, you need to keep Carlos Boozer next season. Do not amnesty him. This whole argument of amnestying Carlos Boozer makes no sense because you're going to be without both Derrick Rose and Luol Deng to start the season. So you need some form of offense. But this is it. This is the last. After this year, then you get rid of him. He'll have 2 years left on his contract. They say it every day a fool is born, and we've seen it in sports. They'll get rid of that contract eventually, but you need it for this next season. And it's hard for me to bash this guy. He had a really, really bad playoffs. He was hardworking. He showed up every single game, injured or not, did not complain, was C.J. Watson. C.J. Watson comes into this game with 6 points, 10 assists. But what we're going to remember, because I don't believe C.J. Watson will be on this team next year, the last thing we'll remember about C.J. Watson is driving down the court with 7 seconds left, and instead of pulling back up with the ball to dribble even more time off, and then him going to the line for the free throw, was passing it to Amir Sheik, who had a flagrant foul put on him, and it wasn't called. We're not going to put any blame on the refs, though, because the game should not have been that close to begin with, but C.J. Watson should hold on to that ball. And people are killing him right now, and it's well-deserved, because he did not show up in this playoffs. It was his turn. It was his time, as well as John Lucas, to step up with Derrick Rose out, as well as Carlos Boozer, and none of them showed up. None of them showed up in this playoffs, and that is why Philadelphia is moving on to the second round. The Sixers gave the Bulls, I would say these last 3 games, more than once. Gave them these games, and the Bulls couldn't do anything with it. There's no excuses for this Bulls team. They had their opportunity, and they didn't take it. And that is the world-famous What I Noticed on WICB and the Chicago Beats.
It must be true, 'cause I heard it on the radio. It must be true, it must be true.
So there's a lot of interesting questions for this upcoming offseason. A lot of interesting questions, a lot of interesting scenarios that could play off. Will they stay packed with this team? It's going to be hard for this Chicago Bulls team to make any real significant moves. They're really strapped for cash. Carlos Boozer still has 3 years left on that contract. Joakim Noah still owed $40 million. Luol Deng still has 2 years on his contract. The new deal Derrick Rose just signed starts this coming up season. You still have another year with Rip. They have 3 options on this team, so they're going to be really strapped for cash. So unless it's a blockbuster move, this probably is the team you're going to see out there. But let's just hope. And I believe this is where everything is heading to, is the Bulls finally saw that they don't have enough to win the championship. The Bulls do not have enough to win the NBA title. And I'm hoping that they finally notice that. Yes, Derrick Rose covers a lot of your flaws and covers a lot of your mistakes. But without Derrick Rose, there's nobody else to do that. And you're noticing that with the good teams who are winning. Look at Miami, look at Indiana, and look at Boston. These are teams that have other options and that are healthy. You can go to the West Coast and look at Oklahoma City. You could look at both the Grizzlies and the Clippers. You need more than one star. You can have a team full of good role players, but the Bulls are a team of good role players. And to me personally, probably the most disappointing thing of this whole season was the grind. The grind of losing to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals after having the Coach of the Year and the MVP, best record in the league, losing in the conference finals, coming back, losing your superstar throughout the season, battling injuries throughout the team, to get to the playoffs, having a very good game 1, and then losing your superstar and everything just exploding. This playoffs remind me of when you light a firecracker and it ends up being a dud. You were waiting for that massive explosion, you're waiting for that excitement, that glee that you were going to get for him when you're a kid, and you just didn't get it these playoffs. You just didn't get it. And I think that's the most disappointing part. Now, I'm a diehard basketball fan. I've been a basketball fan for over 15 years. I love it. I love the sport. I love everything about it. So I would be paying attention to the rest of these NBA playoffs. But the rest of Chicago might not be. The rest of Chicago is already baseball mode, Bears mode. But a lot of fans are also in that mode after Derrick Rose tore his ACL halfway in the air. It's sad that the season had to end so fast, so abruptly. But at the end of the day, this team was a bunch of dead men walking. You saw them struggle against Philadelphia. Even if they got past them, what were they going to do against Boston? And then if they got past Boston, what were they going to do against Miami? And if they were going to get past Miami, what were they going to do against either OKC, San Antonio? Go ahead, take your pick. You know what, though, Chicago? There's some good news, though. At least we get to talk about 2 baseball teams that are going to be under 500 the whole season. Yeah!
Go, White Sox. Let's go, 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 White Sox.
The life of a Chicago sports fan, I'm telling you. If you've disagreed with anything I've said, don't forget to follow the show at Mercado2333.com or comment us on Facebook at Facebook.com/MikeMercado.com. So my only suggestion to you Bulls fans out there is to keep your heads up, get ready for next season, hope that your team gets healthy and is able to make a run in the playoffs. We know now, going into the 2012-2013 season, that it doesn't matter if you have the best record in the league, that it doesn't matter if you have the MVP, that it doesn't matter if you have the Coach of the Year, the Sixth Man of the Year, the best bench. It doesn't matter. What matters is going into the playoffs next year and winning the NBA title and bringing the parade to Grant Park in Chicago. So for everybody at WICB and the Chicago Beat, I am Mike Mercado. Don't forget to follow the show at mmercado2333.com. Comment us on Facebook at Mike Mercado2333/Facebook.com. This is the Chicago Beat on WICB Radio.